Welcome back to Life's Cholent. My name is Avital, and today I'm so excited to welcome a very special guest, Nili Fischer, who at 18 and as a senior in high school is the national president of NCSY. NCSY is an amazing organization that does programming for Jewish teenagers. They were founded in 1954, and their mission is to connect, inspire, and empower Jewish teens and to encourage passionate Judaism through Torah and tradition. Nili, as the national president, has the amazing opportunity and responsibility to oversee Jewish teenagers in the United States, in Canada, in South America, and in Israel. That's approximately 30,000 Jewish teenagers that she gets to engage with. Nili is the perfect person to talk to about what it's like to be a Jewish teenager in 2021, the problems and the challenges of being a teen in 2021, and the amazing blessings and the best parts about being a teenager in this era. Nili is so inspiring and speaks so well about her visions for what the Jewish teenage community should look like in the future. It is really inspiring and insightful, and I learned so much from her, and I know that you will too. Welcome back to Life's Cholent. My name is Avital, and today I am so excited to be joined by Nili Fischer, who is a senior in high school and is the national president of NCSY. She oversees approximately 30,000 Jewish teenagers around the world, and I'm so excited to have you with me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you. So before we really dive in, maybe you could tell viewers who don't know, what is NCSY?
Yeah, totally. So NCSY is basically a Jewish organization. It's a modern Orthodox organization that runs programming throughout the country and in Canada and Israel and Argentina and Chile. And the goal is basically to encourage teens to be religious and to love Judaism and to continue living like the life of a Jewish person. Basically what it is.
That's very cool. And then I know that involves a lot of programming. So what does typical NCSY programming look like?
So in each city, there are different events. So like in Denver specifically, we have latte and learning. So we used to go to Starbucks. We can't do that anymore. And like you talk to each other, you hear some Torah, and then like it's a lot of hanging out. Then there are also like larger scale. There are regional Shabbatons. So a region is like a specific area where you are with a bunch of other cities. So like, again, Denver's region is Southwest, and it's with Denver, Houston, Dallas, and San Antonio. And like, we'll get together twice a year and have Shabbatons. And then on like the larger scale, there's something called Yarchei Kala, which is over like 1 week during winter break usually. And it's for everyone in NCSY to come together and learn and hang out and meet new people and hear really awesome speakers. And then there are also summer programs that NCSY runs. I think there are like 23 or something that you go, and there are public school programs, there are day school programs, there are mix. So NCSY has a lot of programming.
That sounds amazing. It's so cool that you get to like be a part of this and that something like that exists for Jewish teens.
Yeah.
How did you personally become involved with NCSY?
So I became involved in 8th grade. So NCSY is typically for high schoolers, but in spring of 8th grade, they start to bring those kids in. And NCSY was like it was just starting in Denver, and it was like huge. And I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And I would see all the high schoolers doing NCSY. So I knew I had to get involved. So I went to a Shabbaton, and then like ever since that day, I was like hooked on NCSY.
That's awesome. And did you ever envision yourself becoming national president? Was that like a goal you had or something that you happened upon?
I think it was like a little bit of a goal, but like I didn't put it too far out there because I didn't think it was very realistic. So like I remember at one of our like latte and learnings, I went up to Yisrael Katz, who's our director, and I was like, how cool would it be if I was national president? Like I always like thought about it, but I don't think like officially I said it. And he was like, yeah, that would be cool. And then like when I got closer, like junior year, I was like, whoa, I can actually do this. And then I like applied. And then when I got it, like I remember I was in tears. I was like, holy moly, like it's crazy. It's such a weird thing.
That is so, so cool.
Yeah.
And then in your role as national president for NCSY, what do you get to do, or what are your responsibilities that are distinct from anybody who's attending just as sort of a peer at any of the NCSY programs?
So this year it's a little different just because of COVID. So on a typical year, I would be traveling to each of these region Shabbatons that I was talking about before, and I would be speaking and meeting all these teens, and I would be speaking at Yarchei Kala. So generally it's a very big like role model type of position. But unfortunately, I'm not able to do those things this year. So this year, I've been running programming like nationwide. So we've been having Zoom events, or it's like I'll be connecting with specific teams and just checking in on them. So it's a smaller level, but at the same time, it's like I'm held to a much higher standard just because of the position I'm in.
Absolutely. And it kind of sounds maybe like you get more intimate connections with people, whereas, which is also awesome, speaking at a huge event, maybe you don't get those one-on-one connections that perhaps you have the opportunity to have now. So maybe that's a silver lining.
Exactly.
And then, so I know that NCSY has their own mission, but what it like drives you? What is your personal mission? What would you like to see for NCSY? Why do you feel connected, I suppose?
I think it's just, I mean, that's a really hard question, but I think it's just a really good opportunity, like to meet day school kids and also public school teens and like not really know the difference between them. So it's like, I've always found it really cool that like at a latte and learning, like I could be talking to kids who don't even keep Shabbat or who do. And like, there isn't like, it doesn't matter where you are on the spectrum of religiosity, but it's like everyone's friends, everyone gets along. And it's just like a mission that it's like, we're all part of NCSY. So like, it doesn't matter. So I guess I would encourage like NCSY to keep going on their mission and like keep reminding people like nobody really cares where you are religiously. Like we're all the same. Like we all have the same like history ultimately. So it's like, let's go and like, let's reunite each other, I guess.
I think that's so beautiful. That was really well said. I think
Thank you.
that's a great explanation and something the whole Jewish community can strive for. So really, really nicely said. This might also be a tough question, but what do you think are some of the biggest challenges or issues facing the Jewish teen community in the regions that you are overseeing?
That is another hard question. I think probably along the same lines is like the division between people, just because like you're with your school friends. Like a lot of my school friends happen to do NCSY with me. So like I hang out with them, but like you also want to reach those other teens. And I think, thank God we've gotten to a lot of teens and we've reached a lot of people, but it's like, how do you keep moving forward and getting more teens? So that's probably the biggest challenge. But also like keeping it interesting for everyone. Cause it's like, if you do it all throughout high school, it's like, okay, it gets old. So
Definitely you want to break the stereotype of like, I think perhaps it was more a stereotype for like Sunday school, but I think some people perceive like Jewish programming as like, oh, it's that obligation that I have to like go to that thing. So I think
exactly.
NCSY really tries not to continue that stereotype, to make it fun and interesting.
Yeah, totally.
What are some of the best parts about being a Jewish teen in 2021? So I guess some of the challenges are like trying to reach people. But what are some of like the best aspects about being a teenager right now?
It's so fun. It's so fun. It's just so easy. Like I always like think about it and I think I probably take it for granted. Like you think back to like times like 100 years ago, like it was not easy. Even like 30, 40 years ago, it wasn't this easy to be a teen. So like especially a Jewish teen, because it's like obviously there's anti-Semitism, but like in my like personal teenage world, like thank God I don't experience it. And it's like I go to these events and I don't think like, oh gosh, everyone's going to be looking at me differently. So I think it's just like, it's honestly just easy. So it's like such a privilege that I don't have to worry about anything.
That's awesome. That's a great answer. Why do you think, if you do think that it's important for Jewish teens to be involved with this kind of a youth group?
I think it shows, like you were saying before, how it's like, it's a fun way to experience Judaism and things. So it's like, it's not a forced thing. You have to come to these events, but you're able to experience Judaism and life with other people who are going through the same things as you in a lighter environment. And also like you're doing it just because you want to. Like if you're going to a Jewish day school or a public school, like you're going because you need to go to school. But when you go to NCSY, you're going because you want to be there. You want to meet other Jewish teens. You want to learn more. You want to learn how to be the better person that you can be. So I think it really allows for personal growth, and specifically on like that you want to grow. So it's not like my parents want me to grow, so now I'm going to go through my personal growth.
That's awesome. That seems like a really great. I like how you said that, because there are a lot of things that feel obligatory in life, like, oh, I got to do this, but this is something that you get to choose to do, and that is a different level. Like, it makes you more excited about it when it's your choice, which is super cool.
Yeah.
And then so sort of along the same lines, if somebody's not sure about if they want to go to an NCSY program, or they're a little bit on the fence about it, what would you tell them?
I mean, usually I'm like, come on, are you serious? Like, it would be so fun. Kind of in a joking manner, but at the same time, it's like, it's so impactful. And like, I know our recruitment teams and everyone tries their hardest to get people to these events, because it's like, it ends up being so much fun. You talk to people, you get free food. I mean, like, you can't complain about that. And ultimately, it's like, if you think about it in the long run, like, NCSY saves a lot of people's lives. And I think if people really knew the value that it had, and going to like a single event had, and even impacting other people, like when you're there, like, you can be making a difference to someone else and like you wouldn't even know it. So I think ultimately it's just like a matter of people understanding how important these events are, but also like, it's fun, like, why not, type of thing.
That's awesome. And that seems really interesting. Do you have any examples, or a way that you can expand on, like, maybe, again, not using people's names or something, but somebody where you just saw like an impact that NCSY had on them, or a shift in their life through the programming?
Yeah, so there are a lot of people, so this is like less specific, and then I can give a more specific one. But a lot of people will end up going and taking gap year programs, or going and continuing like being Jewish because of NCSY, because they go to one Shabbaton and they're like, whoa, this is really awesome, this is for me, and then they continue it. But on a more specific level, someone I know who's actually not from Denver, she lived in like a really random part of Texas and didn't grow up in a Jewish home. And one of the NCSY rabbis reached out to her, and she was like, I feel like you would be really good at this. And she kept going to events. She was so invested, and she ended up becoming the chapter president and then the regional president. And like, then she went to Israel for the year, and then she went for another half a year. And like, it's just really inspiring to me to see, because like, I grew up in a religious home. I grew up going to Jewish day school, and I'm so blessed and I love it. But like, it's so amazing to me to see these teens coming from the middle of nowhere, or going to public school and choosing for themselves to like continue on this path. It's like amazing, where I see like teens that show up to events, and I'm like, whoa, that is so impressive that you're choosing to be here. So it's just really cool.
That's so inspiring. Like, I love that. Like, I really love, on a personal level, I love giving them some sort of connection. Like, any connection is just, that's just an amazing feeling. So it's so cool that you get to like experience that and see that transformation really happening for people.
Yeah.
What's something that, like, what if you could just make a wish happen? What is your vision? What would you like to see the Jewish teenage community looking like in the future, some number of years down the line?
That's a good question. I think it would be really cool just to see like everyone devoted and like excited about Judaism, because I know as a teenager, like, people really struggle with that, which is completely understandable. But like, to just see like people be so excited about like being Jewish and all these things, and like talking about it and having these conversations that are so important, and like at the same time like still having fun and still like being like your normal self, kind of combined with that excitement of Judaism. If that made any sense.
That made perfect sense. Well,
Okay.
For you, what are your plans for the future, college, career? Like, do you have any sense of what you're doing starting next year, I suppose?
So next year, I'm going to take a gap year in Israel. I'm going to Midrashet Harova, which is very exciting. It's in the old city in Jerusalem. And then after that, I'm going to Brandeis University. And I'm not quite sure what I want to study. I'm thinking like definitely not medicine, or math and sciences, not my thing, but more on the business side. And I'm considering right now maybe law school. So
Wow, good for you. That's so
yeah.
exciting. I can tell, I just like have this inner sense that you're just going to be successful in whatever area you decide
Thank
and set your
you.
mind to. Is there
Thank
anything
you.
else that you want to add or share with people that we haven't touched on yet?
Yeah, I would just encourage everyone to like reach out to people who they know are Jewish or who are really connected or not so connected. And I just think like reaching out and just checking in on people goes a really long way. And I've learned that definitely through NCSY, because like I'll be like, oh, I haven't seen this person at an event for so long. Like, and then I reach out and they're like, wow, thank you for reaching out. Like actually stuff's been going on. Or it's like, yeah, I've just been busy. But like, I just think like a text or a phone call like goes a really long way.
That's an awesome message. And I think a lot of what you've said is important when you're a teenager, and it's just important in the Jewish community and life in general.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you don't see somebody at synagogue for a while, reach out, it's like, it's a nice thing to do. So I love that idea. I'm going to take it from you.
Go for it.
Well, if you want to follow along with NCSY, you can want to see Nili's work, you can follow Denver NCSY on Instagram and Facebook, and also NABO NCSY, which is their national page. I'll leave those links in the description below. Nili, it was such a pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you so much for taking the time and for telling us what it's like to be a Jewish teenager in 2021. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you, Avital.
Thank you.